Hey, Doodles here. So my brother did a video on Nirvana's hair history, the grunge rock band, and that video blew up, dude. And I saw a comment saying, do SilverChair. Yo, I'll do SilverChair. Now, if you can't tell or you haven't heard before, my brother and I have this very intense fascination for the 90s decade. Now, the first hairstyles video that I made was actually just talking about men's 90s hairstyles, and that's the first video that took off there, about the haircut videos anyway. So SilverChair, I know who SilverChair is. SilverChair is an Australian rock band, and they got their start in the 90s, and definitely very much a grunge-influenced rock band, though the grunge movement was starting to fade out at the time, but definitely their music was heavily influenced by that movement during the 90s. So I'm just going to throw this out quick. This guy was a part of the early version of SilverChair. They were known as Innocent Criminals at first, and what's this guy's name now? Tobin Finane, I hope I said that right. I don't know if I did, but from the pictures, it just looks like he had longer curly hair. Not much to say, just longer curly hair. It's not like super long, but just has some length, curly-ish hair. That's all I gotta say. Okay, so if you take a look at their Innocent Criminals era, you can see that their haircuts, if you take a look, they are younger here, and out of the three boys who would remain in the band, they have kind of like bowl cut-esque haircuts, I would call it. You can see that Daniel, he's kind of got like a long fringe skater bang situation, and almost like a curtains haircut. You can see that at the back, it's very hard to tell, but it comes across as he's got like an undercut situation going on. I don't know if it's like a full disconnection, but it's definitely enough that you can see that there is something a little bit separate, and definitely a length change going on there. And like I said just a minute ago, the other guys kind of have these kind of bowl cut-ish style haircuts here in their early days, where you can see some length in the bangs, but kind of like straight across cutting. And like I've talked about before, if you watch my men's 90s hairstyles videos, it's a big theme of the 90s. It became a socially acceptable thing, and even kind of a stylish thing for guys to have what I like to call hairstyles with bob-like features, or one-length horizontal lines of sorts. Now, basically, as they progressed into being the band SilverChair, and they released their song Tomorrow, and actually, if I may, I love that song. I love the original version of the song. They made the Frog Stomp version, and to be quite honest, it's amazing how small changes can really make or break a song, at least for someone. I love the original, but the newer one they made, I don't know, I don't feel it. I like the original one. I like the way everything was done. I like the vocals better. I understand, like, you can tell that he was really replicating what sounds like Eddie Vedder, but I don't know. I like the whole everything. I like everything better on the original. I wish that was the one they released on the broader market, if you will, because I know that was their Australian initial release, and then they re-recorded it for their full studio album. Anyway, back to hair. Now, as I was saying earlier, the guys who remain in the band, they have these kind of bowl-style haircuts to some degree, and they just grew it out. And not a lot of layering, just kind of that, again, bob-like style features to the hair, and they just screw it out. But again, that kind of look was already in style in the 90s anyway. So yeah, they just screw it out from there. So you did get to a point where their hair was, again, long, but kind of had one length style features. You can see that the drummer, however, had some length in the back to begin with, so as it grew out, you can see that the bangs are quite shorter than the back. Unlike the other guys, they have a little bit of a different situation. And Daniel John, especially with the long fringes, as it's grown out, you can see how that's grown out differently than, for example, the drummer. And something I find interesting is that as when he was younger, I just assuming that he wasn't straightening his hair, maybe he did, but you can see that his hair is very, very straight, and especially with the one-length features, you can see this very straight one-length blonde hair, and again, like, he has very long fringes, so the front is not that different from the back of his hair. So it's almost like kind of like the one length bob cut. It's almost there. Just the front's a little bit shorter, but like as I was saying just a minute ago, I'm intrigued by the fact that his hair is so straight, and then when you see him a little older, you see that his hair starts to wave just slightly, but a little earlier his hair's like super straight, and I relate to that because he's a teenager. He's going through puberty. He's changing, and when I was a preteen, my hair was super straight, and once puberty hit, it started to throw out a bit, and the texture of it changed. So I ended up having straight hair, and then having some like a waving type of texture. But I found that interesting, and they just kept growing it. But at some point between Frog Stomp and their next album, Chris decided to take it all off and make it real short. And he carried that look for a while there into the next album. As you can see, buzz cuts or a little bit longer, but that was the look he went for a little while there. But also come 97, some haircuts happened. I guess Ben the drummer wanted to follow in the footsteps of the bassist, and he also buzzed it off. And then Daniel also cut his hair. He kept it still pretty long, but he also got a trim, so this was a very trim year. And then eventually, like a lot of what guys did in the 90s, was pick up the spiked haircut, doing the old gel routine. I'm glad that people don't really use gel anymore. And then the next couple years, 98, 99, looks like Daniel was experimenting with some shorter, but still keeping it lengthy. But you can see that what kind of looked sort of like a Kurt Cobain-esque haircut at the beginning, and kept growing it and growing it. But now the fringes does have a lot of length difference. It has layers and a style to it, whereas before it's just kind of like this shaggy, long hair, unkept, basically no layers in it, and just kind of sat there. But this time it actually has some style and intent to it, and some slight variations there, but mostly keeping the front fringes a little bit shorter this time around, where before it was quite long. Maybe not as long as the back, but it's quite long. Ah, sick, they met Blink. And that's about the time she walked away from me. Also looks like there was some dreads that were being experimented with. Now the two other guys, it seems like mostly they just kept the look that they had for the last while, where it's buzzed and then the spikes that were grown out by the drummer. And then you can also see Chris having it grown out a bit as well that year. So now we transition into the early 2000s. We're not in the 90s anymore, and it's kind of an interesting year if we go to 2002 here. And Daniel grew his hair out. He experimented with cutting it. He grew his hair out, but it's grown out from his more styled version of things. So you can see that though his hair's longer, it does not look like how he started off in the Frog Stomp days or their EP days. Now, the two other guys, it looks like they just kind of experimented with growing out their hair from the shorter haircuts. You can see that Ben has a type of like bangs hairstyle, kind of like a medium length bangs type of hairstyle. Sometimes it looks like he experiments with parting it just a bit, but this would become kind of a 2000s look, the bangs kind of medium length style look. Very 2000s thing to do, And we got Chris, again, experimenting with some shorter hairstyles, but also growing it out and letting his wavy texture flip out in things. Even seeing some hair dye action, and it looks like Daniel got a trim here. Kind of looks like what it used to look like a few years ago. Now, I won't get too into it, but the next year, you could see that the couple of guys there, the drummer and bassist, they grew their hair out a bit, kind of got a shaggy situation going on. And Daniel, his hair looks a little bit different. You could see here that his hair is still keeping that length. The year before, from what it looks like, he had cut it a bit. But here it looks like it almost like potentially he got some type of haircut and grew it out. But everybody in the band right now has sort of like almost like a mid-length shaggy look. Now between this time and their next album, Daniel cut his hair shorter than it's ever been since many years. Ben grew out his hair, but it looks less like that 90s one length look. It's definitely grown out, probably from different hairstyles. He's keeping the middle part going, which is something he did back in the 90s when his hair was long. Chris has been keeping a middle-length layered haircut. Now, like I've said before, the 2000s was a time where a lot more of a mild look was something that was pretty popular. And something to look at is Daniel, he has his natural hair color. Now, something that I've learned a little later in life than I should have, a lot of people who have a bright blonde look into their adulthood, it's actually more rare than you think. The Taylor Swifts, the Christinas, the Britneys, all of these ladies, their hair is not that bright. Like, maybe their hair is blonde, but it's quite a dark blonde. A lot of people who have blonde hair when they are children, when they grow older, a lot of the cases their hair grows darker. There may have been a time where Daniel's hair was quite bright, but into his adulthood his hair has clearly gotten darker. His hair is still a blonde, but it's more of like a darker, dirty blonde. I'm sure if you see it shining in the light, you still see that gold color, but that very bright, almost bleach blonde that we saw in the past, that's not his natural hair color, and we see him rocking the natural hair. And then around this time, or next year, you see that he grows it out a little bit, enough that he can spike it, and he bleached his hair, so now you got the bright blonde hair. Now, from my research, around 2009, they were trying to get together and make some more music, and they were putting together some things online, some content for people to look at. I took a look at this video from 2009, and Ben looks like he almost has not quite an undercut, but tighter sides with the long on the top. And with the bangs kind of going into his eyes, almost curtains-like. It's not necessarily divided on a type of parting, but kind of just flipped over from the side. And now we have Chris kind of going back to really short, and Daniel keeping that short haircut that he's been kind of keeping around for those past years up to now. Now, basically after that, SilverChair was no more. They announced a hiatus in 2011, and there isn't really much content on them as far as those years. Now, if we take a look at today, Daniel has mostly kept his hair short, never went back to the long grunge hair that he had back in the 90s. Sometimes he'd grow it out and experiment with it, bleaching it again, and things like that. Ben seems to like to keep it long. Through most of the pictures that I've seen into his adulthood, he usually kind of has a similar hairstyle. Parted down the middle, long. It doesn't usually go like past his shoulders, but it seems like he likes to keep that style. Chris tends to keep his hair shorter, but sometimes you see him growing it a little longer. Now these days it kind of looks like he's got some hair loss going, but I do say congratulations. He kept it for a good while. Some guys lose it when they're like 18, and he was able to rock hair and hairstyles for the good few years, and was able to grow it and have it rock star long in his young years. Now, unfortunately, the guys haven't really been doing any SilverChair stuff anymore. Daniel has kind of disconnected himself with the other guys, and it's unfortunate. Hey, you know what? I encourage anyone out there, any relationship is subject to be restored by just being open to it. Why not? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. My brother and I definitely like to talk about hair, and if people like to listen, hey, actually it's been our most popular videos on this channel, so more hair videos to come because you guys like it. Now, why not take a look around? That would mean a lot to my brother and I. We also make other kinds of videos if you're interested in just checking them out. And yeah, thank you very much.
You fixed my motorbike seat, but there is just one thing I don't know if you can fix. Oh, duct tape, can you fix my broken heart? Fix my broken heart. Oh, duct tape, you've hardly let me down. When there was a problem, you'd always come around. When things were broken, when things were torn apart. Oh, duct tape, can you fix my broken heart? Fix my broken heart. Oh, tape my big mouth shut so I don't speak bad and hurt you. Oh, tape us together till we work all our things through. Oh, duct tape, I don't know what to do. Oh, duct tape, you've been there through and through. Now that I'm feeling blue, I'm counting on you. When things out somehow, no matter how hard. Oh, duct tape, can you fix my broken heart? Fix my broken heart. Oh, duct tape, can you fix my broken heart? Fix my broken heart. Oh, duct tape, can you fix my broken heart? Fix my broken heart.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Hasta la thank you.
Hasta la thank
you. Hasta la thank you.